Hello for comic sakers. Today I want to celebrate how comics stand as one of the most versatile and experimental art forms out there. Unlike other mediums, comics give creators a unique playground where different elements, drawing, writing, color, layouts come together in an almost alchemical blend. Whether it's the crisp lines of traditional inking, the vibrant bursts of traditional color or digital color, or even unconventional materials like collage or mixed media, each approach brings something distinct to the table. Comics let you explore the boundaries of storytelling in ways that other art forms often cannot. The interplay between words and images creates a rich tapestry that invites endless experimentation from graphic novels and webtoons to zines and comic strips, each format providing its own set of creative possibilities. This fusion of mediums not only pushes the boundaries of what comics can be, but also allows for diversity of voice and styles to flourish. It's this incredible range and adaptivity that makes comics such a dynamic and exciting medium. So, next time you dive into a comic book, remember you're experiencing a true melting pot of artistic innovation where the universe is literally at your fingertips. Welcome to For Comics Sake. I am J.Crager. It is August 26, 2024, 8 p.m. We are here once again for our live show, episode 21. And I'm going to introduce a man who needs no introduction. He's my co host, William Perdomo.
That was a fine benediction. And I think you're absolutely correct. The medium allows you to experiment with storytelling, subject matter, theme in a low-risk environment.
Correct. Does really good. It's one of those beautiful things about it. Like that's what makes comics so amazing. So, for sure. So tonight we have a very special guest, a man who's very hard to pin down because he likes to go to bed early.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Just like me. I'd rather be asleep by now, but
he's a busy man, but we got him to have a little bit of extra coffee and stay up late for us.
He's sort of like Shrek. He kind of goes into his swamp and wants to be left alone. He doesn't want no stupid fairy tales, camping out and squatting on his land.
Yeah, he doesn't want to be told what to do, but we wrangled him long enough to come onto the show tonight. And I'd like to introduce the fabulous, incredible art of Rob Willis right here.
Welcome.
Hey, great introduction.
The man himself.
Truly impressive.
So, thanks, man. I appreciate that. That's I was talking, I believe, earlier today with Will, and we were talking about how comic books are so versatile in the medium that you could do so many different things, unlike any other jobs. If I did storyboards like that, that would be a waste of time for the storyboard aspect of it. But so many graphic art jobs aren't that. So you don't get to be Bill Sankovich. You don't get to be John J. Muth or George Perez or Todd McFarlane or even Rob Willis. So, yeah.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
You don't get to you saying you get pinned down to specifics.
So certain jobs in our lives. If you're doing art for somebody, typically it's not comic art, right? You're either doing a form of graphic art, or advertising art, or you're doing logo design, or you're doing, which, that's part of comic books, but it's with comic books, you could take so many styles and distill them down into comic books. As I was saying, many artists have very different styles, and that's still comic books. It's just not having a shitty square painted in a gallery somewhere. on a
Yeah,
wall, or a banana taped to a fucking wall, or
was that real? I thought that was like some guy's lunch. Did
that
he?
was real. There was a real actual art installation where a guy did that, um, which I don't know whether that's impressive or not. Like,
It's not.
it's just
It's not.
stupid.
No.
It's just
It's
I don't like
lazy.
it.
There's nothing impressive about that.
It is kind of lazy, but it's I don't know. There's people who believe art needs to provoke in certain ways, uh, or else it's not art, and
I think
everything
there's
else.
I think there's a lot of people that are too easily provoked by shit that's not provoking. That's
Probably it too, for sure.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Speaking of
Like if
provoking,
They want to find meaning in something that has no meaning.
well,
And then they create but they create meaning. They create their own meaning, but I guess that's art. I don't know. Maybe
they should they should go look at some good graffiti art, like in a really seedy part of town, and
yeah.
then talk to me about how their square is art.
well, I
Uh,
think we're just trained to be a culture of critics in the sense that most education revolves around deconstructionism, which is essentially another word for saying cultural termites, where people are trained to deconstruct, to tell you what they don't like about something, how it's problematic, how it's got some sort of reference to something offensive rather than what it is, and how it justifies itself as art. But they couldn't tell you anything positive. And I don't mean like good. I mean something, a positive opinion. They always give you negatives. This affects me. I don't like it. It's bad for culture. It's bad to a group of people. It's offensive to women, whatever. But they never tell you why. They just know what they don't like.
that's probably true. Yeah, for sure. There is a form of weird gatekeeping. You know what always interested me in art? Uh, I like the time period of art where people started to paint like demonic shit, like like bat women and shit like that, like back in the 16, 17, 1800s, like get into Hieronymus Bosch and stuff like that. I like that they just kind of went off the fucking deep end and stuff. And then of course, like there's paintings of what they think Lucifer looks like and shit like that, and it's really cool that these people imagined these things and saw these things and painted these things, and that they became part of our world. And it was, it's dark art is I guess part of it too, but
Mm-hmm.
the fact that they did it in the religious climate that it was in, and still painted dark artworks and weren't put into like jail or drugged through the streets and murdered over it, which I'm sure some were. Uh,
Well, did
but
the church actually have a problem with people painting depictions of Lucifer and stuff?
No,
I mean, they have a lot of depictions of Lucifer and things like that. Don't I mean it was kind of like, how are you going to talk about God and scare the hell out of people without showing them what hell looks like? Or
there's
trying
there
to.
there's a bat. Look up the Batgirl painting. Like
Yeah.
it's not, and it's basically a woman with bat wings, and it was probably done in like 16, 1700s. And
gentlemen, if I may interrupt, I'd like to say hello to
maybe
our chat.
later.
By the way,
Go
before we
ahead,
get
say hi to them.
let's say hello to everybody, and we'll get into it, and we'll
Do it.
talk about bat women and evil things. Let's start with our
Demonic.
good friend Marco. Greetings and salutations, my friend. Welcome.
Hi, Marco.
Number one in the chat, and number two is always Seth. He gets the bathroom code. How you doing, my friend?
Hi,
We've got
Seth.
the ever ride or die homie, death metal hero Luke. What up, Jason? Will Rob?
Hi, Luke.
Albert Joseph.
DJ Martinez, your biggest fan, Jason.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Mr.
Oh
Zablo.
yeah.
He's
If I
quite
die,
sick from the COVID.
if I die and he can't reach me, he'll be the first person to call the police to like check on my dead body.
And then GJ adds again, the man, the myth, the legend, J.Crager. And nice to see me as well. Thank you. Appreciate that, buddy. And good to see you too, Rob Willis, he says.
Hey, who is that?
Luke says that was
GJ.
Oh, Luke.
GJ
Hey,
Martinez.
what's up, Luke?
Luke and GJ Martinez.
What's up?
Luke
Sorry, I was
said,
looking
in my
up the
opinion,
Batwoman painting.
Fine art galleries either money laundering schemes or just full of pretentious asshats. I'd say postmodern art galleries are indeed money laundering operations, indeed. Like the one that's just like a dot in the middle of a white canvas.
Yeah, that shit's pretty stupid, man. So.
And Billy says, I like what Rob said. Some people are easily provoked.
Do you know what's funny? Me having to look up reference for the shit I drew 4 years ago. And
are we going to be able to see you draw it?
Yeah, of course. I'm drawing St. George right now. But the fact that I have to look it up makes me fucking laugh. I'm using myself as reference.
Well, when you jump from project to project, you tend to forget the details of.
Yeah.
You'll never forget mine.
Pretty normal.
It'll be burned in your memory.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe so. Maybe this character, he's a little different.
Because he took so damn long to draw. I took so much of your life away for this piece that it'll be like tattooed on your brain.
You added value to my life. You didn't take nothing. I got to
do
something different, something a little thought-provoking. I enjoyed it. It was enjoyable.
I'm glad.
A little,
and, I want to say this. Rob Will is probably the second person like 4 years ago that I met in this whole thing. And instantly had a rapport with him, and I consider Rob a friend. And I'm glad he's here talking to us tonight. And I'm glad he did this. It would feel incomplete if he didn't do something on this thing. So I'm glad
appreciate
it got
the
done.
invite. I don't do much of these, but not because I don't really like to. It's hard to find time sometimes. Or schedules, because I'm the type of person. If I'm tired, I want to go to bed. I don't want to sit up and talk because I know I'm gonna be miserable throughout the whole thing. So if it clashes with my sleep schedule, whatever that may be, because it's different every day, then I will cancel. I've canceled many times on different streams. Also, I got the family stuff, and I might be really into a project that I don't want to break away from. And I just have to say, hey, this is secondary. Unfortunately, I would love to join, but I got to reschedule. And I did that. I had to reschedule with a guy that I just did a stream with. It hasn't been aired yet. I don't know when he's gonna air it, but it was pre-recorded, and I rescheduled on him about 3 times before we finally nailed it down.
Oh wow!
Well, we are gathered here tonight, dear listeners, because it's a special occasion. We're going to be talking some meathead, some psycho slumber, but mainly why I have Mr. Willis here past his bedtime is to unveil this tremendous cover he did for me that was a long time coming, because our friend is in demand, quite a demand, but he doubled down and got it done for me, and I'm very appreciative, and I think he produced, in my opinion, his best piece. I know it's a tall order, Rob, but I think it's one of your best pieces you've ever done.
It stands out from what I've done before, for sure.
And this cover will be the official alternate or cover B of the Meathead campaign when we launch it. So this is it. So it'll be Crager's and this cover available in the campaign. So, you guys want to see it? Should we show it?
Sure, if you want to.
Let's have a look at it.
Let's see what everybody thinks.
So here we are. This is Rob Willis's Meathead cover in all of its glory. Let's get it right there.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking amazing, man.
It's a little distorted. Maybe it's just.
There's so much detail. I'll zoom in on it, but I want everyone to see the full image first before I zoom in, and you guys can have a look at it. So there it is.
I like the skull in the trees.
Indeed.
Yeah, that was fun. I'm glad it turned out the way it did. I was wondering because in pencil, you don't know how something's going to look in ink necessarily. I said, is this going to look good? I'm going to go for it and see how we make it happen. It was interesting making the trees actually make sense and make the skull visible. because if you look at the branches and things, there's layers to the trees, but I don't know. It was a little tricky, but I was glad it was worth the effort, and I'm
It
glad we did.
was it was subtle. I kept looking at like the
Yeah.
character in the page and just
Uh-huh.
I didn't pull far enough away to kind of see it as a whole.
Well, it's meant to be subtle, but once
And
you
then
see it, you can't unsee it.
yeah, once you see it, you can't unsee it. So that happened. So that was cool. It was very cool. So now let's see. Finch. I have to draw Finch, huh?
What I know, maybe it's silly, but what I really love what you did, Rob, here is this kind of cross hatching on the plants here to give that depth to the image.
The
Right here,
blending
so
at
you
the
get these
bottom.
layers. Right,
Yeah,
so it gives you a layer
trying
like
to
a
push
mid
it.
and 4.
Yeah, I wanted to like a little hazy background on the smoke kind of settling on the surface of the ground there. So, and with the fire in the background, I was able to make that kind of make sense, and it adds a little bit of depth to a pretty chaotic image that otherwise would have looked very crammed together.
Yeah, originally you wanted to put some extra characters, and you were thinking about making it more of a collage, and then you
That's
settled on
right.
image.
I wanted at first I was like, okay, let's do this guy over here and this guy over here, a collage piece. Yeah. And then I said, no, we're just going to focus on Meathead,
On Joe.
on Joe. Yeah.
And for everybody in the audience, this is an actual scene from the book itself. Back here is a heroin plantation that is on fire, and these are Vietnamese thugs that were the employees of said plantation who have been dealt with by Joe in his characteristic fashion. And there's a couple characters missing, but this could almost. What's funny is that one of the main characters, Catherine, who's like a CIA liaison, who's on her way to Vietnam to deal with this issue of Joe, is sort of getting all the information through dossiers and flashbacks a la Apocalypse Now. So she's kind of behind all the events as she's traveling to Vietnam, and she's getting these black and white photographs of this, what's called a crime scene, of these bodies, of the deer head skull, because Joe likes to leave a tableau of a decapitated deer, which you'll find out later on. You see that other artists have depicted this deer woman, this kind of creature in Joe's head, and this could almost be hey, let's have a nice picture, black and white photo that's in her dossier of Joe.
Exactly. If he would stand there long enough to do one.
Billy says it may sound weird, but I like the negative space created by the ropes tied to the legs. Let's zoom in on that.
Yeah. Gives it a little bit of symmetry. It adds to all the trees and the nature. It gives it a bit of, like I said, a little bit of symmetry over there. It breaks it up a little bit. Good for the brain.
So here's you're known, Rob, for doing extremely detailed, heavy pieces. Like for something, because you have two different ones you've been doing lately. You've been doing your superhero work, which is kind of minimalist, considering what you've done. And then you'll do something like this, or your Wolverine versus your old school Wolverine versus Hulk that's in the forest, where it's dense, it's heavy, it's like a heavy negative.
Yeah.
Like, how the hell do you start something like that? Like when you're doing something like this, a dense image, how do you get to this? Like, where do you start in something like this?
I don't know. It's just it really depends. That sometimes a lot of times I go into it with no plan, no real plan, and it's wherever my mind takes me. Sometimes I say, you know what, this will look better with less, and I mean that. It's not me copping out and trying to do less work. I just say, I do what I think is going to look the best for what suits me at the time. And so I'll say, okay, less on this one. And like you said, you'll get the minimalist type art. And then sometimes I say this needs more. This is, in order to make this work, it needs to be heavily rendered, heavily detailed. It needs to have a lot going on. I want the people to have plenty to look at on this piece. And really, I don't know. It just, I kind of play it by ear. I wing it.
And why'd you
Fair
settle
enough.
on a just straight up strong front shot of Joe like that? Like, because I remember the first thing you sent me was
Well,
barely anything. It was just
when you talk when describing Joe, and I don't know if you meant to make this point or, he's like this programmed. He can't break his programming, right? He was programmed. He's a soldier. Now he's stuck in the programming. But to me, Joe just seemed like a madman. He was just in a state of constant madness. He was in an alternate world, basically. He's still killing people, just years after, what's going. I don't want to give away too much of the story. I don't know what you want to tell people about it. But to me, he came off as this just psychopath, just an absolute psychopath. So I wanted to really focus on him and the madness. Like if you look at him, obviously he's kind of got this 1,000-yard stare going on. He just scalped a bunch of, drug dealers. He's mangled. He's decayed. I don't know. I just felt like it would be best to focus on him and not try and clutter the image with a bunch of other, like a collage of other characters.
Fair enough.
because eventually, I mean, I'll reveal this. Originally, I told him the story point about what we refer to in the script as the Colonel. The Colonel is, if you want to make a 1-to-1, he's like Troutman in Rambo, except a whole lot worse. You know, Troutman kind of cares about Rambo as like a father figure. Well, the Colonel's like an abusive father figure. You know, like he's the guy who brought Joe into the Meathead program to rescue him from a long life of prison. Well, what he thought was rescuing him, but in fact, he condemned him to a life of continuous war. And just to kind of let everybody know, the reason Joe is this way is that when the Colonel is wounded in Vietnam, he gives Joe one final order, which is basically kill them all, and he's stuck because only the Colonel can relieve him, and
Right.
that's what we're talking about. So he's forever stuck in that final order of kill them all, even though the war's over. Charlie ain't Charlie anymore. It's now the People's Republic of Vietnam, and he doesn't give a rat's ass. It's still the enemy. And he'll continue until the Colonel himself, who's dead, tells him he can stand down, soldier. So that's sort of the conflict there. How does a dead guy release him from this living hell?
That's right. Which he can be like a killer. He could be horrified by his own actions. Which is, that look on his face can just be more than that 1,000-yard stare. It could be grief and desperation and so many other things.
And you gave him that M62, and I like the fact that you have it kind of tucked up behind him, giving it another piece in the mid ground. You know, so he's kind of turned to the side.
Yeah. Nice. Well, it was a lot of fun drawing this cover. It challenged me in a few ways, trying to get the texturing right, especially him on his character, trying not to overdo it or underdo it, I didn't want to make it anything like smooth blended, so I wanted to make it look rough, textured, and that was it's a little difficult sometimes to get the right blending off the shadows without doing any like traditional hatching. If you notice, you might want to tell the colors. He's got you might not be able to notice with all the stuff going on his pants, but he's got a string of scalps hanging from his leg there.
Is that what those are? These right here on I did not notice that.
Yeah, I meant to tell you. It's hard to make out with everything else that's going on.
Are these like Roman numerals?
Hey, it looks like he's
number 2?
Taped pictures to himself too. go to the other leg right here. Yeah. See, that looks like he has a map all stuffed in there or something. Like, here's a
Where?
map.
Right
Like
there,
that
right here.
square dead center right here.
That's just a hole in his leg.
It's
I
just a
think.
hole. Okay.
Yeah, it's just like some mangled flesh underneath of his torn
Got.
pants.
Ah,
You see a
okay.
few of those. You see a few of those up in his
I did not
torso and his
notice that these
legs.
were scalps.
Ah,
That is cool. I like the fact that you stuck that on there.
cool.
And there's blood on the knife. You can see that right there. And
Yeah,
the fact that you gave him wraps.
I didn't go in and erase my pencils. I don't think that'll matter once it's colored, but with some of the finer lining, when I erase it, it really knocks off some of the ink. So
Yeah.
I left a lot of the penciling on there.
Okay. Well, yeah.
And what do you? Oh, excuse me. Go ahead, Crager.
I already did like the production on it essentially. So like I put it in a template and I, sized it and cleaned it up. And when most of the levels were already done on it, so I just kind of gave it a little tiny push. But I didn't
Oh,
really notice anything in the pencils that really caused any issues or anything like that.
yeah, just a little balancing, maybe messing around with the contrast or brightness a little bit really should take care of any of that.
Right.
What were the tools you used on this to achieve this, Rob? Like, what was your entire toolkit from start to finish?
I think I had my brush pen. I had a number 5 for some of the thicker areas that I needed the black in that weren't quite big enough to use the brush, and then a 2.5 Copic, and that's pretty much it. A little bit of whiteout. I went a little heavy down at the bottom in some of the areas that I needed to leave lighter, so I had to go back in with some whiteout and kind of, add in some hatching there, but. I did a little whiteout around added a little halo to the foreground to separate the background. That's about it.
And I guess what I wanted to ask you also, Rob, because your career is kind of interesting thus far, is I don't
It's
think
not a career. I don't have a career.
Well, I mean, I think you do, but you kind of fell into this thing. I don't think you meant to be a comic book artist. I think you enjoyed it. I think from all the time we've talked about it, it seems to me that you like art, you're gifted, you did it your whole life, and you like comics as a medium, but you never
I'll tell you,
thought yourself as a comic artist.
I know I did. Well, I wanted to be one, but I never saw myself as anybody who could hold his own in the world of the comic artists. I used to look at these guys like gods, and I thought there was no way to do this. I don't know how to do this. I drew my little pictures, and I dreamt one day I might create something cool. You know what I mean? But but I did make up my mind in 2017 that it's what I wanted to do, like solid, because I had a story idea in my head and it just jumped into my brain, and I said, I got to illustrate this. I got to do something with this. And I didn't even end up. I only did a few pages, and then I kind of canned that idea because I wasn't knowledgeable. I didn't know enough about the topic that I wanted to draw, so I had to put it aside. And then, I don't know what happened after that. I posted a few pictures. Some people liked my work. Then people started wanting to pay me to draw, and now that's pretty much what I do.
Well, isn't that not a career, Rob Willis?
It's a hustle. It's gig by gig. It's a grind, I guess. I won't call it a hustle, but it's a grind. I don't have a steady, stream of revenue. I mean, I do, but I don't. Like, things could go bad, and I don't have any guarantee that the work is going to continue. I'm not contracted into any companies or anything that guarantee me work. So I got to do my own promotion. I got to do my own scheduling. I got to do my own everything. So yeah, it's a grind. So
I've actually seen some of your work that, I mean, there's some work floating around that. How did you make? Because there seems to be two Rob Willises, art wise. There was the Rob Willis that started doing this kind of work, this kind of rendering, and then there was a Rob Willis, like, because it seems in the previous projects you redrew into this style. So how did you make the jump from like the more amateurish style into this very professional looking work? Like, where was that quantum leap in between? What gave you that?
I'm not sure what you mean, but my style has changed a little bit, just because I got really bored. Not bored, but I wasn't satisfied. It all comes from not being satisfied. That's all. It's not being satisfied with anything for too long. If you want to get better, you got to look back at your old stuff, no matter how much you might have liked it at one point in time, and you have to say, I could have done better than this, or I could have done this different, or if I would have done this way, it would improve the image. So, like, I'm happy with my work for about a week, and then I look back at it and I start looking at all the things I would have done differently, and I think that keeps me moving in, maybe not forward, but in a different direction, because I always want to improve on, but sometimes it's not always an improvement, it's a change though. So I change things, I experiment a lot, and I'm wound up here with this piece, but it really just it's just a matter of me not being satisfied with one style for too long. My brain won't allow it. It just says, okay, well, I find limitations in certain styles, right? Okay, if I keep using this rendering or this technique, I'm limited in certain areas. And when I, maybe get to an image where I have to add a little versatility to the texturing or the whatever, this doesn't go good with that. Okay. And I can't break it up like that. So I have to trying different things all the time.
And speaking of that,
works.
Seth adds, a true artist never masters their work. They merely refine it, honing the edge more and more, making their work sharper, more refined.
Yeah, I'll never be. Yeah, I believe that. I know personally, I'll never be completely satisfied with what I'm doing. I'll never be like, yes, I've made it. This is where I need to be. I'm happy. I'm going to stay here and just keep doing things like this. That's so boring. I can't imagine getting locked into a style or locked into a specific place, because I feel like that would just be so dull. It'd be so dull.
I agree.
Well, Crager is very good at hey, what up, some person? He said, hello, J.Crager for Comics Sake. Will and Rob, what up, buddy? Thank you for joining us tonight. Crager, what I find wonderful about Jason's work and his abilities is that he's sort of like a Swiss Army knife artist, that whatever he needs, he can. He can do fine art in terms of a portrait, like he's shown his Joker portrait before, and it looks, like a carbon copy of Joaquin Phoenix's face, or he can do something like Jawbone Death, which is madcap biker mayhem, to something more painterly in Hammer, to something more European in Meathead. He can be three different people a lot of the time, and this is what I admire about the man, is that whatever you need, he can get.
I try. It's I believe, there's a style for every book that you're doing, and you should kind of dial yourself into whatever style you need to work for the book and let it serve the book, and it allows you to experiment, which is the best part. Like, I don't like being bored having to draw the same shit over and over again. So I'll turn it into a inking like challenge, or I'll turn it into something that allows me to study something to make it more exciting for myself. So I like styles. I like doing different styles. It's one of my favorite things. Is just figuring out what style a comic should be done in, and then do that. Uh, it's really fun. Super fun.
It is. It is fun.
Yeah,
And
it
for
keeps it
Meathead,
fresh.
he had a great reference. One is Dan Panosian was a big
Yeah, that
reference.
it's blueberries. It's Mobius's blueberry. The inking on that is what I'm trying to like do. So here, I have a copy of some.
Let's have a look. See.
So so let's find something that has a lot of really cool inking in it. There's horses and shit on this. So can we see what I'm talking about? So like this type of rendering to me, hopefully you're able to see that shit. Let's see. Maybe the cover will work.
Remember, if you want to piss off an artist, make him draw horses over and over and over again.
Oh, it's not that hard. It's not that hard.
J.Crager revealed to me that he hates drawing swine. So in the first 13 or 14 pages of Meathead, there's a scene where two characters are having a dialogue exchange in a pig pen.
Yes.
And it's full of pigs.
Yeah.
You don't like drawing pigs?
I do not enjoy drawing pigs for some reason. And it had to do with so I was working on Hammer 2 and I had to draw this like kind of radioactive boar type thing, and it just didn't turn out right. It just never turned out the way I wanted it to. So it became the bane of my existence, like drawing pigs. Now, I'm not saying I couldn't draw one now. It's been like tons of pages since then, and I can probably like find some reference and make some good pigs. But at the time I lamented it. So it was not, it was the bane of my existence, is what it was at that time. So,
and speaking of that, hey, Rob, have you ever come across a piece, whether it's a commission or otherwise, where it was just a bitch and you just could not get a handle on it, and it took a long time to wrap your brain around it? Like, is there anything recent that you're just like, this is a bitch?
This one, kinda. Maybe
really?
Not this one. No, I mean, no, it wasn't a bitch. It was just it was a lot of little detail in this one, but it was fun though. I wasn't frustrated by it or anything. There was one, and I know one recently. I don't remember what it was, because I was complaining about it to my landlord, and I remember telling her, I was like, I am not having fun with this. Let me see if I can find out. Let me look and see, because I'm sure.
While you're looking, GJ wants to give you a compliment and say the foliage on this piece is amazing, Rob.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
It is a really good piece.
And some person said someday someone's going to commission you to do a gritty remake of Charlotte's Web.
Oh, interesting. That would be weird.
And the other one that Crager showed me as a reference that I just loved was a Argentinian artist named Breccia, who did a book on Che Guevara. And you will see a lot of that, especially in the ash can. The ash can is going to give you a very good idea of what this book is going to look like.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And for those that may be new in the chat, we're doing once Crager finishes the first 12 pages, which again, the first 12 pages of this book are a nice, neat introduction. All the characters are introduced. The plot kind of gets going very early. It's a big action scene. So everything, if you don't like the book enough to buy it in the first 12 pages, then if you don't like these 12 pages, you're not going to like the book. Put it that way. So it's a low risk buy.
Yeah, it should be good. It should be really good. So I'm hoping I have some of the penciled pages like essentially worked out. Like I just started.
Ooh, are you going to show it?
I can. Let me see.
Well, while you're doing that, let me say hello to Metal Movies and Brewskis. Hail the chat. This piece is metal. It reminds me of Swamp Thing, EC, and Creep Show. I am very glad it does. Metal Movies and Brewskis, because those are big influences for me, anyways. Especially, I'd say he's a combination of Swamp Thing and Rambo.
Rambo.
Because obviously Rambo is a influence. All right, check it out, guys.
So let me.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Let me get. I don't know, man. Let me get closer. Let me see if I can.
I thought there was. I saw a similar image. I thought it was inked already, but I guess not.
You saw layout.
You saw me do a layout, which was
okay.
You know, I scribbled that shit out, but I'm working on this now and rendering it all out so that you
this
can
book
see.
has to be insane to draw.
It's really organic, which kind of fits in my end of the pool, and you know, I enjoy the more organic forms and making things look bloopy. But you know, also it allows me to kind of bring my, you know, Sin City Breccia type style into the thing, and I want to do, as far as the rendering goes, I want some Frenchy type rendering, you know, in there. So that's broken up a little bit, but for the most part, I'm doing a lot of blacks to just contrast everything, and kind of similar to what you did, you know.
Well, I think that would be best for something like this in the jungle.
Sure.
Yeah, you really want to work with those contrast values.
Yeah. And that's what all my breakdowns were. They're tests in contrast.
Yeah. I mean, otherwise you're going to be stuck doing a lot of fine rendering it's going to kind of muddy the image, you know?
Correct. Exactly.
Hey, Down Go Solo, welcome. Thank you for coming into the chat.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
So let's show something.
And yes, Down Go Solo, he is doing all of this traditional.
Yeah.
Nice.
And
so this is The Witcher. Let me get this.
And by the way, GJ, this is Meathead. That page you just saw is from the book. It's page 4 of the book.
Yeah.
And that's going to be in the ashcan. You'll get that page in the ashcan.
Yes.
And thank you for being excited for it, Metal Movies and Brewskis. Like I said, you just came in. There will be an ashcan available that we're going to print up for you guys to get a nice preview that you'll be able to get direct from me, a la Reaper Destroyer, you know, Joe Sonatog's kind of model.
Right. So this is the breakdown for a commission that Herman wants me to do of the Witcher bad guys. So this is just the sketchy pencils. I still gotta transfer it to board and then ink the thing. And fix whatever issues I have with it in the process. So I like it. Came out nice.
Do you want to go back to the Meathead one real quick?
Sure. I can go back to the Meathead one.
Just to kind of give everybody a context of what this image is. Leading up to this is taking place at a Vietnamese villa where there's some foreigners and locals having a meeting about what to do about the world, you know, New World Order type stuff. And the entire while this meeting has happened, Joe is working his way from the outside to the inside of the compound, essentially taking out all the guards. And over this is dialogue of them talking about their evil plans, and each guard is getting picked off in different ways. And so far up to this money shot, it's been, little, like, guys getting, stabbed in the back of the head, a guy getting pulled up by a noose. And then this guard is charged with going and finding out what's going on with all these other guards not answering. And it's the big money shot As he goes and looks around, lightning strikes, and boom, there's Joe in the trees hopping down on him to take him out.
Yeah.
Down Goes Solo. The book is essentially about a man who is the product of let's call it a MK Ultra type program during the Vietnam War to create, for lack of a better label, ultra efficient serial killers in the Nam to be sort of terror troops called the Meatheads. And what ends up happening is that they're all wiped out except one, our main character. And he is given a final order by his dying commanding officer to kill them all. And he stays in the Nam for 10 years thereafter, killing them all. And he cannot stop because that is his programming. GJ says those Witcher characters are looking so nice. And that was that. Did that sound like a good elevator pitch, gentlemen?
I think it did. I think it did.
And that's the plan, Down Goes Solo. Going to be a blinding bright in the background from the lightning. Yes, very Frank Miller Sin City. That was kind of what me and Crager decided on to give it that contrasty look.
A Pega.
Oh, that's good.
And
just scribbles. Boobs.
Nice. That's good, though. I love the style.
See? It's just scribbly.
Women are
style.
so fun to draw, man. I wish I would get more female commission.
You could just do that on your own if you want. Like, you don't have to ask permission.
That Electro was a watercolor, right, Crager?
Yeah.
And for the new people who just walked in, we were talking about this cover, which is Rob Willis's alternate cover that will be available on the campaign for Meathead when it launches. So you'll be able to get this on the front of your book by the great Rob Willis.
So here's the 3 sketch cards I've done so far that I have to ink. I have 2 more I have to do. So it's Finch and St. George and I forgot her fucking name. Shit.
That one.
Forgot. This is a piece for the vampire book I'm doing, which is pretty cool. I wish you could see more. Yes. Do it that way. How's that?
Yeah, I love that one.
That's good.
This is Jabba and Death pages.
Ooh, yeah. Just to kind of show you what you're in for.
Yeah. So we'll move this shit around so you guys can see it.
Oh, that's good.
Karasharuni.
I've always been a big fan of the overlaying the panels on a bigger image. I've always loved that.
And then what crows like to do to things.
Now this is a different style than your doodle of the girl with the big tank on her back. Now you were talking about switching up your style.
It's absolutely a different style. Absolutely, hugely different. This one is like Daniel Warren Johnson-y kind of inking, which it still looks like me, but it's just sloppily inked. With this stuff, it's more cartoony and form driven, and I'm really working with a chiseled tipped inking implement, and I don't really care.
I like that style right there.
Me too.
That's a good one.
Yeah, it's the Ashley Wood style, and that style's the funnest to like draw in because
it's all shape based. It's all based on shapes. That's another thing. Getting into interesting shaping, I learned that you can veer away from accuracy and like all the technical stuff if you can create interesting shapes in your art, from rendering to the body shape and all that. Like you'll see a lot of hard shapes in the bodies in the background. It's all with the lighting and the contrast on the guys hanging. that's all just, hard shapes, and it turned out looking pretty good.
Look at
Oh,
how
that's cool.
simple that
Yeah,
is,
yeah. But that's good though.
right?
It's got an appeal to it that
Yeah.
you can't capture with the highly super intricate detailed work. Yeah, that's cool.
This is something you would do, like just go nuts,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that's good. And I like the use of your ink wash
Great.
there.
Yeah, it works good. Um, and then like there's scribbly styles, like stuff like this, where
Hmm.
it's just like that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's just simple and scribbly, and I don't even know what I wrote. It says on here, "We are so fucked, you idiot. You better hope it's running." It says, "You better hope it's running parallel with us for fuck's sakes." That's what that says. And then me
A
scribbling.
layout kind of thing. And by the way,
So
Rob, that skull in the tree seems to have been a big hit. Rob, you're a monster. Those details are sick. I really like what you did with the skull in the trees. Down Goes Solo says.
It turned out it worked out. It was an experiment and it worked out. So I'm glad we went that way.
so here's Jeff Darrow style, like literally
Yeah,
Jeff
yeah,
Darrow
yeah.
style. Here's a bunch of dead babies. Here's a Mexican painting. This was the painting I did for La Mano del Destino and then finished it digitally. This is that Ashley Wood style again.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the best. This is
There's a
my
vampire book.
rendering style for the vampire book. So this one's kind of, all the background, all this rock detail is done in that Ashley Wood thing.
You like to draw orifices in this book.
I do. There's a lot of weird stuff in this.
And by the way, Rob, do you color your pieces too? Down Goes Solo wants to ask.
No, not really. If I can avoid it. No, usually I just do the pencils and inks and let somebody who really knows what they're doing color my work. I'll tell you two of my favorite colors. If anybody's interested. Well, there's a few, but Valentina Bianconi and Tanya Wicker. You can find. It's hard to find Valentina because I don't think she uses her real name. She has a Twitter
Alias.
And,
a handle.
Yeah. She has a hand. She has a Twitter account. She has a Instagram account. Tanya uses her real name on her thing, so she's easy to find. And they both do really amazing work on my work. At least I'm really fond of the way their colors turn out on my lines. So I got to give them a shout out. It's not often that I'm just blown away where I see it and I go, wow, that's better than I imagined it.
I believe Valentina did the Psycho Slumber cover, correct?
Valentina did the Psycho Slumber cover, and I think she did something else of mine. And Tanya did a cover I'll be
Raggedy
posting
Dandy.
soon. Yeah, and she also did the Monster MD Shinobi Sasquatch crossover cover. She did the colors on that, if you remember that. And she may have done something else of mine. I can't remember. I'd have to look back. And there's a few other guys that are really good. I'm going to find this guy. I can't remember. Let me give him a shout out.
Matt LaRock has walked in the room. Welcome, Matt. I'll put the meathead piece back on the screen that Rob did for us so you can see it. And everybody wants to know vampire book. What are you talking about that? And speaking of that, Luke says can always count on this show for some kind of dead babies.
For sure. Sorry, man. Yeah, I have a 10-page story coming out towards the end of the year in a book called Stain issue number 3. And I'm going to be doing a story in that about my futuristic vampire Borden who's stuck on a prison planet.
Guys, I posted
Okay.
Tanya's Twitter in the chat if you guys want to go take a look at her work.
Okay. And the other guy who just colors my work for free sometimes, if he sees something he really likes, typically his a well-known Marvel character or something, he'll color it. He'll just jump on it and be like, I gotta color this. And his handle on Twitter is Henner4L. Capital Hener number 4 capital L. And he does really good colors. So if you're looking to hire somebody, I would recommend him if he's taking on gigs, because he always does a really good job.
Nice.
He colored my Doctor Doom. He colored the Spider-Man Juggernaut piece, and I think he colored something else too. I can't remember what, but he just jumps out. He just colors them for his, just because he wants to. Not to say. Well, that's when I'll see him. He'll send me stuff, so I got to give him a shout out because he'll do that, and I at least should put his name out there because he does really good work.
Sure.
Of course,
Nice.
Matt is very impressed. Wow, crazy detail. I'm glad you could come in here and see it, Matt. One of our regulars. Any of his colors you can show. You can actually go to Rob's Twitter. Who is Rob Willis? I believe that's your Twitter handle, right, Rob?
Yep.
And he has that Dr. Doom on his media page, and I think you can see it on his Instagram. Rob has an Instagram as well.
Instagram, and if you want to just see my artwork, Instagram. Well, that's pretty much all I post on Twitter now too. But Instagram, it's easier to scroll Instagram, and I think the handle's the same. Who is Rob Willis? Because you don't have to go down like how Twitter is. It's like one post at a time. If you go to Instagram, you see like a block of art, and you kind of scroll a little faster to get to it.
And there's his Instagram if you guys want to go and subscribe to Rob so you can see his wonderful artwork as he posts. He had just posted the meathead image, so there it is. And of course, people are loving it, as we knew they would.
Yeah, we did. For sure.
We knew that was not going to be a hard sell.
Oh, not at all.
So, and also Rob is doing the logo as we speak too for this book. And you've seen his logo work on a book like Amarok, which is Art Jedi Josh's book, which I believe you also designed the logo there.
Yes, I did an Amarok logo. Yeah, I think I did the Shinobi logo and the Amarok logo. Those are the only two logos I did.
The logos.
So, is there anything else you can show us, Crager, about what you're working on?
I don't know. I mean, I do a lot of stuff, so it's not like I always have
Indeed, that Wolverine versus Hulk piece, that might be my favorite Wolverine fucking tank. Metal Movies and Brewski says. Yeah, that is indeed. I think that's why it's pinned to Rob's page.
What's that?
That Wolverine in the forest one.
Oh, yeah. I'll unpin that soon. But
Well,
the background, I was really happy with the background on that one.
If there's a candidate, might I suggest this recent one you just did?
Well, I like to keep the pin tweets as something somebody sees and they recognize, because it makes them, it's kind of, simple as that is, but somebody sees one of their favorite characters and they go, "Ooh, let me see what this guy's doing." You know what I mean? So it's kind of like a psychological thing. Everybody loves Wolverine and Hawk, so that's why I pinned that one there, and that gets them looking at the rest of my work. As much pride as I take in some of my, more unknown, independent characters, it's, people aren't, the human mind works in a way where they kind of gravitate towards what they recognize, and that gets them looking at all the other stuff. So it's kind of like bait
and switch.
And going back to the beginning, man, I remember how I came across you was through Frege of all, obviously it's through Frege, and I was on the phone with him, and he said, "I'm going to introduce you to your new favorite artist." and he showed me the Black Flag, and then he showed me the that early promotional piece you did with the werewolf stalking the guy in the graveyard.
Mm.
You remember that one?
Yeah.
That old one you did?
Yeah. That was the second cover for Shinobi. That was the variant cover, Halloween cover.
And you knew Frege long before this stuff, right?
No, not long before. I met Frege right before I started, or right around the time I started Shinobi Sasquatch. He was the first big guy to reach out and be like, "Hey, man, I really like your work." I think I commented on one of his like Frege used to do these speed drawing posts. He would do these 5-minute doodles. And I commented, I was like, man, it's amazing. You just bang that out in 5 minutes. I can't even imagine that. And I think I might have got his attention, and he looked at some of my drawings and was like, dude, you can draw. And I was like, yeah, all right. And then we were cool after that. He reached out to me for the Black Flag cover. And we've been cool after that. I hung out with him at the Comic-Con down here right in 2019, before everybody started locking themselves in their houses. And yeah, we've been cool, man, ever since then. Dan's a good guy. I just talked to him 2 days ago. I'll call him up every now and then for some input. I'll be like, hey, I'm not liking this. What do you think? And he'll usually talk me out of like completely erasing whatever it is.
Did you have any input on this one?
Yeah. I called him asked him about the tree. There's a tree. There's like a big
which one?
Like a tree off to his. If you're looking at it, it's off to the left, right about his elbow. There's like a little tree there off in the background. Now I added highlights to it. I went in with some whiteout and added some highlights to break it up a little bit, but it looked like a big blob when I first did it, because I was like, it's this. There's going to be fire behind it, so that you're going to see more.
Are you talking about that bracken kind of bush back there?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a tree. It's a top of a tree.
It's like the top of a palm tree. Yeah, you can see the tree coming down through the middle there, and there's some leaves there. I don't know.
I see it. Okay, right there. Yes.
And I was getting ready to go in and like white out that whole thing. Like it was bugging the shit out of me. I went to bed. I'd been working on this piece, finishing the inks all night. I went to bed. I woke up and I looked at it and I go, shit. What the hell did I do right here? And I called Dan. I said, what do you think, man? I said, I got to get rid of this, huh? He's like, nah, it looks good. It's pretty gnarly looking. And I said, all right, man, I'm going to take your word for it then. And what I did is I went in and I broke up the blobbiness with some highlights. You can see the whiteout. You can tell the difference in the ink right along the top of the tree and a few little streaks there. And it broke it up just perfect, and it didn't bother me after that. So he talked me out of really creating a lot of extra work for myself, and that may have resulted in a worse product, because I don't know, I'm sure Crager knows, but when you white something out, it's impossible to really draw well back over the whiteout. I mean,
that's true.
Not with any detail. So
that's correct.
If I white out this, I am stuck with an area there that's not going to have any kind of
real detail. Yeah, exactly.
You're going to lose resolution in that spot.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. So that's okay.
As it appears now, it looks like it's catching highlights from the fire.
Yeah, so that whiteout going in and touching a few little spots was perfect. They did the trick.
I think if Rob drew shitty, then that wouldn't be a problem if he had to white out anything, because nobody would know. But it's because you draw so good that it
would look off. Well, it
blatantly stands out. Yeah. No, I know what you're saying.
Down Goes Solo said, I like what you did with the armor. And what I really do love about this image is that Rob respected Crager's design of the character. He just amplified it. It's still
there
the
was
exact
one
same
image
design.
there's one image I really liked where he's kind of looks almost like it's looking down on him, and
Let me find that one for us.
and it's got the lady with the tits hanging out and the horns coming out of her head behind him. And I said, okay, I like that because his lip was decaying. He looked really gnarly in that image. I said, I'm going to go with that, and that's what I did. I think I probably changed a few things. I'm his knife. He has a knife holster on his chest in that image, and I put it on his waist in this image. Right. But I still put the belt.
What he's talking about is this one.
Yeah, that's the image I went off of. A few subtle differences, but not too much. I didn't veer too far away from the design.
That is true. You did not.
I like that lip. I like that lip. I said, oh, yeah, I got to go with that decayed face right there. It's perfect.
And if you guys are wondering what's going on here, this woman appears in a lot of promotional pieces, this character, and she's not really in the first book because the first book isn't necessarily about Joe. He's like a Terminator in the first book. We really find out his entire life, really, in the second book. The first book is an action sequence, a long action sequence to get you into the story. But this character is a demonic entity that has been stalking Joe's family, the men of his family in particular, him being a Native American man. And it serves as his personal, spiritual, psychological battle that he's trying to break in addition to his programming. So nobody else can see her but him. It's part of his psychosis. And I love what Crager did here, especially the angle and then the rainfall here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really
cool. And like he said, the Joe's expression is really great here.
I appreciate
man.
He looks like what? Excuse me.
He looks like a madman, like almost like a horror psycho. You know what I mean? I love that. The dead face, the no emotion, it's just in his mind. It's just like kill. You know what I mean? Just that's what he was told to do, right? Just kill them all. Like I imagine. I mean, isn't that like what Jason hears in his head when his mom's like,
yeah. And there's a Jason Voorhees vibe to him too.
Yeah, that's what I got from that. It was like that Jason Voorhees vibe. So I kind of, if you look at it, he kind of has that Jason vibe to him. Like, I mean, if you're just a villager, he would be like a Jason type character, right? He's roaming the woods.
Yes.
He's like this legend who just goes around slaughtering drug dealers, hanging them from trees, scalping them and shit. He'd be like the Jason Voorhees of the jungle.
Precisely, except he's like the Predator in the sense that he's only going after what he perceives as military targets.
Yeah.
He's not killing villagers.
Over sexually active college kids. He's going for drug dealers.
I mean, you'll find this out about
today,
Joe.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Look who it is. It is a Dan Plagle that just stumbled into the chat, stumbled into the saloon, high on fumes.
What's up, Dan?
Hi, Plagle.
And he always comes in at the end. He never comes in at the beginning. But thank you for coming, Dan. I'll take anything. But one thing I'll say about Joe and his design is not a lot of people are choosing to draw him with his tiger helmet that he has.
I thought about doing that, but it was a thought. I like the helmet. I like the tiger get up, but I just didn't go with it. In the end, I chose to do his bare face.
Right, and a lot of people do. There is a piece that a lot of people have seen that I'll show real quick that a good friend of mine, Christian Rossi, did that is kind of along the same lines as what Rob did, which would be this one. Which would be excuse me. This one. Which is, he kind of did the same thing where he wanted to be going to Joe's head. And of course a deer skull sitting on the table here in that hooch he's in.
Yeah, that's
so
good.
This was done by Christian Rossi, who is a Argentinian artist, and his employer was on our show, Mr. Lucifer Storm of Ed Gein, Demon Hunter, and Lady Satan fame. He regularly works with Christian, which gives his, Christian Rossi did this. I call him the Mike Mignola of independent comics. That being said, that finished piece of Rob's is great by Boob Dan.
Yeah, it came out really nice.
Dan. Thank you, Dan.
Indeed, Christian did this one, Mr. Martinez. And it came out beautiful. And so I bring this one up because everybody's sort of drawing Joe without his mask, and I'm looking forward to someone drawing his tiger helmet, because the tiger helmet's really cool, man.
Yeah. See, now it's bugging me. I kind of wish, I'm thinking maybe now the tiger helmet would have been better for the cover, and the raw face reveal might have been better for the interior. The
next one.
Yeah.
Maromi, you came in at the end, but I hope you can have a look at the, for all of our friends that are coming in, let's have a look at Rob's piece one last time so everybody can see it. Guys like Maromi just walking in, I want to make sure he has a look at it. Bam, there we go. And Metal Movies and Bruce, he says, love the piece. His blacks and negatives, definitely old school Mignola. Yep, that's what I always tell him whenever he does his stuff. Indeed, and one of my favorite artists as well. So we're coming up on an hour and 12 minutes. What do you think, Mr. Crager?
Yeah, should we let Rob go to bed?
Yeah, let's let Rob go to bed.
I'll be up working, but I do have a roommate next to me over here, and I might be keeping him up. So I got to be mindful of the time, because that guy works like 3 jobs. So I don't. He's probably tired.
Oh my God, that's insane.
I mean, this was a long time coming. I think I commissioned Rob a good year ago, but he was so busy and so booked up he couldn't get to it. But thankfully, he did right when we're getting close to doing this Ashcan, so it kind of worked out.
I get to it eventually. Sometimes, I'm not always there when you call, but I'm always on time.
But it was worth the wait. I'm very happy with it. I hope you guys are happy with it.
I do that sometimes, and people get a little impatient, and I say, trust me, you're going to want – I'm not in the head space for this piece right now. You're going to want to wait until I'm – I won't I won't screw you over here. We got to it's got to be the right timing.
Thank you.
Especially on a piece like this, it took me so. I just set aside a good time slot for this because there was so much detail that I knew it was going to take a while, and I had to still figure out the concept and the layout. That always takes a day for me or so, so I wanted to make sure I had enough time where I wasn't rushing to get to the next thing, to really focus on this piece.
I feel you.
And
I feel you.
GJ says, Rob, thanks for coming on the show. This is a fantastic piece. Awesome work.
Thanks, GJ. Yeah. Appreciate it.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
And Down Go Solo, Rob is available for commissions. Just hit him up and get on the list.
That's it. Hit me up. We'll get you on there. Get in ahead of time. The wait time right now is about 5 to 6 months, I would say, with what I've currently got going on. Maybe if the idea really inspires me, sometimes I'll bump it up the list a little and squeeze it in between something else if I'm just itching to get to it. But typically you're looking for me to work my way to your project about 5 or 6 months right now.
Mm-hmm. But as you can see from my piece, it's well worth it.
Well worth it. Like, Rob does a great job. So, yeah, I got 1 ink tonight. And why didn't I draw the Guild Journal stuff again? I don't know.
Let me see what you. Oh, look, he got St. George.
Nice.
Actually done in the time we were doing this.
I penciled all of them. So there's St. George, there's Finch, I forgot her name. I want to call her Sydney, but it's not. There's the Psycho from Psycho Slumber, and then there's the other character from Crimstone. So, yeah.
Simon, I believe it's his name, the bad guy.
So Simon and Crimstone.
Simon, yeah, that's it.
Marty. The girl's name's Marty. So, yeah, I'll just ink these up. This St. George looks dope. So
yeah, I like that one. That's a cool one. I might have to buy that one.
I'm stoked with that one. So I appreciate you guys all coming out tonight. Let's
have one last look. That is Rob's Meathead cover. You can go to his Instagram, have a look, and follow him on X.
Yeah, you'll probably get a better resolution. You can get a better look at it on my Instagram or Twitter account or X, whatever you want to call it.
Exactly.
Any final words on this piece, Rob?
It was fun. I appreciate you trusting me to draw it.
Thank you, my friend.
It takes a lot of trust from a creator to hire an artist to do their work. So I'm always honored that somebody reaches out to me and says, "Hey, I think you do a good job on this," because you're babysitting. You know what I mean? You're taking care of somebody's kid. So, it's a big deal. I appreciate it.
Indeed. And again, Rob, I consider you a friend, and it would have felt incomplete without you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, sir, for coming on. And we're going to leave the same way we began, with a little bit of peaches in our lives. So,
good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone. And 1, 2, 3, go.